Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Dibs is re-releasing their no pressure lip liners. These have existed for a while, but they have made some pretty big and some other minor changes. And these are all 6 shades of the no pressure soft matte creamy lip liner. I like the sound of that. I can't find any sort of longevity claim or even something that says long wear even on the little card that they included when they sent these. But the old formula did claim to be long wear, smudge proof, and no bleeding. These will be launching on September 4th on Dibs website and on Ulta.com and in a select Ulta stores, so I assume the stores that have the big long Dibs end cap. Mine does not have that. So now let's get into some of the changes that have been made from the previous lip liners to these lip liners. Lip liners used to be $16 and now this lip liner is $20. But before the size was 0.25 grams and now they are 1.7 grams. I'll put some pictures up on the screen, but they were really tiny before. They were like half size lip liners because the whole concept of them, I believe, was that you could put them in this dual ended cap so that way you would have essentially the length of one traditional pencil, but they would connect in the middle. So you would have 2 lip colors with you in the size of 1 lip pencil consisting of 2 mini lip pencils. But in order to use that, you would have to buy 2 lip liners, which would then end up being $32 for just like a lip liner. That wouldn't even be the full size of the current lip liner. And I just can't imagine sales were doing that well with that concept. Because I'm gonna be honest, it prevented me from buying the lip liners. I have spent a lot of my own money on a lot of Dibs things. The lip liners were never one of them because I just thought you weren't getting enough value for that price. And maybe it was like the whole cap concept that was driving the price up, but now you get a much better value. So the current lip liners are over 3 times as much product as the previous formula and only $4 more, which I love to see that because I don't know about you, but I will pay maybe a heftier upfront cost if the price per ounce is reasonable. And this compared to the last lip liner, the price per gram is so much better on these. Before, like I said, they were $16 for 0.25 grams, making it $64 per gram. And now they are $20 for 1.7 grams, which makes it $11.76 per gram. And we, as the consumers, are getting a much better value. And now let's get into the packaging a little bit. You can see it has that nice custom Dibs lines. The color of each lip liner is on the bottom, and then there's the brand and the shade name and all of the sizing information on the actual pencil. A nice fun custom cap that is the same cap as the Jam Jam. So this is the Jam Jam and this is the lip liner. You can see they have the same kind of cap. And it is a plastic pencil, but it is a sharpenable pencil. There is no twist. It does sharpen just with any regular pencil sharpener that you would use for any wooden pencil. And again, I never tried the original formula, so I can't speak to the performance of that, but I will toss the ingredients list up on the screen if any of you want to see that. And then this is the current ingredients list for the new lip liners. And I'm reading right off of the card that they sent over because they did send me these in PR. Thank you so much, Dibs. But of course, that is not going to affect my opinion on these whatsoever. And just so that way you believe me, this is the Dibs mascara. They did send this to me in PR as well. I like it. I do not think in any world it's worth $31, which is how much this is. And so I wouldn't recommend it for that. It is extremely overpriced. So just because they sent it to me does not mean that I'm just going to praise it. They said it has the same unbelievable glide and now infused with a collagen stimulating quad peptide to moisturize, smooth, and define for even softer lips, sharper lines, and no pressure. So it has that quad peptide that stimulates collagen for smoother, softer lips, glide on comfort with a soft matte payoff, designed to line, fill, and define, and it is sharpenable. I'm never against putting moisturizing ingredients in a lip product. I think those are really nice to help not dry out your lips. It has that peptide in there to stimulate collagen, which I think if these are long wearing and you are wearing them, you know, long enough, that could absolutely be effective. But if this is just gonna like wipe off my lips in an hour, I don't know how much benefit you're gonna be getting. Unless I guess you're reapplying like all day long, then maybe. But the formula does look really nice. It looks moisturizing. It looks very smooth and long lasting. I'm seeing some silicones and film formers in here that looks like it should glide very, oh, I see coconut oil. That's not good for me. Coconut oil tends to irritate my lips a lot, especially around the outer edges. So seeing that this has coconut oil kind of in the middle of the ingredients list, low-key, it looks unnecessary in the formula too because it already has other oils and waxes and silicones to give it that glide, to give it that set, and to give it like, you know, glide and then set like a coconut oil would. I don't feel like it's necessary. I just hate coconut oil in lip products. Like that is the hill I will die on. And now let's get into the shades. There are 6 shades. In the previous range, they had their liners and then their definers, which were kind of more like contour shades. In this launch, it looks like they just have a 6 standard shades. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna swatch them all on my hand and then swatch them on my lips, and then we'll do a wear test with one of the colors. So starting with the shade Girl Talk, just from the hand swatch, I was expecting a lot more pigment from the initial swatching. That's not what it says. And the formula does feel a little bit dry, which in a lip liner is not a bad thing. Dryness typically means that it's going to be more long lasting, but since this did say it had that really creamy glide, I'm kind of not getting that, at least on the hand swatch. And Girl Talk is a very pale neutral pink. And now the shade XOXO. Okay, this shade is slightly creamier in swatch. That's a gorgeous kind of deep mauve. So the shade XOXO is a bit more pigmented and a bit more creamy than Girl Talk. Touching them on the hand, they do feel a little bit waxy, but again, in a lip product, not a problem. Trying to smudge it a bit, it smudges, but a lot of that pigment remains right where I put it. Okay, I am trying to remove it with my micellar water, and I have to put in a little bit of elbow grease to really get that off, so I have a good feeling these are gonna be pretty long lasting. And Ketchup is kind of a mix between a terracotta and a brick, and Debrief is kind of like a deeper dusty brick, maybe a hint of purple in there. Toast is a nice neutral light brown, and Tea Time is a deep purpley brown. So on the hand, the only one that I really had an issue with is Girl Talk. That one was a lot more sheer and a lot drier than the other ones. The other ones were all decently creamy and pigmented. Girl Talk just wasn't. Maybe that's because it's a lighter shade. Okay, I just took off the lipstick that I had on, so we are on completely bare, clean lips. We'll get a bit closer for this, starting with the shade Girl Talk. Again, it's feeling drier on the lips. It is tugging, and I'm having to press pretty hard to get that color payoff, so definitely having to add pressure. And this shade is catching on my lips, so I'll pull it, and then it'll stop, and I have to like really tug to get it to go. So this is the shade of Girl Talk, and I do not like the formula on this shade. Something in the colors, specifically in this shade, must have messed up the formula in some way, because I don't like the formula of Girl Talk. It's really dry. I am tugging. I'm having to press really hard, put a lot of pressure down just to get pigment. And this shade is just feeling rather tight on the lips. But the shade I do really like. It is a nice neutral pink that is not pulling orange on me, which a lot of neutral pinks tend to do. Even with my micellar water, these are taken some effort to remove, which in a lip liner I do like to see. Like I can already tell this is gonna be very long wear. And now XOXO. Already this shade is creamier than Girl Talk. I will say I do take issue with them calling this no pressure, because it is a drier formula. I am having to apply pressure to get the color payoff. It is not like an ultra creamy effortless glide. You're just not going to get that with something that is a drier formula. So this is XOXO. I really love this shade. And now the shade to Catch Up. Okay, and I just want to point this out. Can you see that? It's just like a tiny little flake that has flaked off of the pencil as I am drawing it on. It's happening like very sparsely here and there, and it's kind of been happening with all of the colors. Not a huge, as long as it doesn't affect how the lip liner performs, not really a deduction, but it is just strange. And this is the shade Catch Up. Admittedly, I do like this shade a lot more than I thought I was going to. Also, I don't want to make you guys think that these aren't like creamy at all, because I know I was complaining about that they're dry, but that's just because they're called the no pressure lip liners, and that they're supposed to have like this really creamy glide, and they do glide. They are probably as creamy as you can get for a dry lip liner, which you kind of need if you want something to be long wearing, which this is definitely proving to be long wearing. So as a whole, like for the formula, that's not a point against it for me, but it is a point against the fact that they're called the no pressure lip liners, and that they are supposed to have like a easy, unbelievable glide, in their words. Now the shade Debrief. See it happen again with this one. What is that? Why is it doing that? It's nothing you can't just like wipe away, but happening again. Why is it doing that? It's like the lip liner is like pilling over itself. It's so strange. Okay, this shade is doing it a lot more than the rest of them were. This is the shade Debrief, and I really like this shade too. And now the shade Toast. Okay, this is definitely the creamiest of them all. Maybe it's because there's no like reds or purples in here, and that might be causing problem, I don't know. So this is the shade Toast. It's a little bit too yellow for my personal liking, but I think that this is gonna look really beautiful on a lot of other people. Absolutely gorgeous light brown. And last but not least, Tea Time. At tea time, everybody agrees. Now this is a richly pigmented shade. This is the shade Tea Time. Absolutely gorgeous, stunning color. This is gonna be like a very nice, vampy color on me, but I also think it's going to look absolutely stunning on those of you with a deeper skin tone. Okay, so out of all 6 shades, just for the feel, application, performance, I would not recommend Girl Talk, the lightest shade. So dry, not pigmented really at all. I had to go over everywhere like 4 times just to get the correct level of color payoff as the rest of them. But all of the 5 other shades were creamier and more pigmented. I would say the creamiest shade was definitely Toast. And things like that do happen in color cosmetics because the actual colors and the pigments that are mixed into the formula do semi-affect how the formula performs, because the different pigments obviously like feel different and they incorporate a little bit differently into each formula. So sometimes those different pigments will just change the formula slightly so it feels a little bit different. Sometimes brands will go in and they will readjust the formula so that when that pigment is added, it feels the same all across the board. That did not happen here. These are a bit of a drier formula and a stiffer formula. Toast and Tea Time, in my experience, are definitely the smoothest glide out of all of them, but they are, at the end of the day, they are a dry formula. You are not going to get a complete, full, saturated, easy swipe with no pressure. You do have to press and apply some pressure. These are quite matte and a little bit drying. Again, nothing wrong with that. That's something that I personally look for in lip liners. That's just kind of what the brand says that they aren't. Which again, those are good things in lip liners. That is what is going to make this long wearing. But if you're going in expecting this to be like ultra creamy, easy glide, like a ColourPop So Juicy lip liner, it's not gonna feel like that at all. My lips aren't like being dried out by them by any means. They are nice and pigmented. They feel like they're gonna be quite long wearing. Like my finger on top getting stuck on it. Like nothing's moving on that. But like they are fully setting down, which is a good thing. Okay, now I think I'm actually gonna do the wear test with 2 shades. I think I'm going to line with Debrief and then fill in with XOXO. I feel like these colors will just complement each other very nicely, and XOXO was my favorite one. Just aligning with Debrief. And now fill in with XOXO. Because I also wanna feel how this formula feels all over the lips. Because it's one thing if it feels drying on the outsides, like that's bearable, but if my lips feel extremely dry, I don't wanna, you know, deal with that. Again, that glide is just not there. Like if you can see, it is pulling my lip in order to get it to apply. Okay, so this is lined with Debrief, filled in with XOXO. I think those colors look really beautiful together. Okay, so let's go through the claims of this lip liner. Glide on comfort. No. Soft matte payoff. Matte payoff. My lips are definitely matte, and they are, and I want to word this very carefully, they are dry, but they are not dried out. And I want you to see, you can see my lips, they look dry. You can see all of the lines on my lips. There's nothing helping that, but they don't look like crusty and dried out. So I think that's what they were going for with this kind of soft matte verbiage. To line, define, and fill, yes, you can get all of those with these. I can get all of those on my skin tone. If you have a deeper skin tone, there may not be a shade deep enough for you to fully like contour and line and define your lips, because again, Tea Time is the deepest shade. I can't really test if the peptides are stimulating collagen. I feel like that's an overtime kind of thing. And it is still doing that tacky thing. And I still have the swatches on my hand from the beginning, so they do smudge a little bit if you're really pulling on them, but if you can see, there is still rich color underneath each portion where it was dragged. And there's really not a lot on my finger. So I do expect a lot of longevity from these. So are these my favorite lip liners of all time? I don't know. They're good lip liners, absolutely. Do I think that they're overpriced at $20? No, I don't think so. I think that that's honestly cheaper than a lot of other high-end makeup brands. And they are good. They are a bit creamy. They feel like they're going to be very long lasting. The colors are really beautiful. So I do think they are worth checking out and picking up if you can find them in an Ulta store. Maybe go and swatch them so that way you can see for yourself if that level of tug is something that you want to deal with in your lip liner. Because as much as they are called the no pressure lip liner, they are in fact not a no pressure lip liner. They do in fact tug. So I really wouldn't say that any of these shades have glide to them except for maybe Toast and Tea Time. And avoid girl talk at all costs. Like don't, we're gonna move her aside. I am only recommending the other 5 shades. Girl talk is a gorgeous color, it's just too much work. And so this is the look that we are going to be doing a wear test on. I will be back at the end of the day, or if this wears off before then, to do a check-in. Okay, I just ate a burger bowl for lunch, and this is how the lip liner is holding up. A little bit of disappearing act in the very, very center, but everywhere else held up very well. Three hours later, after a big dinner of chicken parmesan, off in the center, but that liner still on. This is the lip liner after 4 hours. I did just reapply some lip balm, so that might have wiped off a little bit of it, but definitely still have some lines even after 2 meals. And that tackiness did start to go away the longer I wore it, which I assume that it would after it has fully set down. I don't mind that tugging if it is going to last this much on my lips 4 hours, 5 hours later. I can't think of right now another lip liner that I have that is this long wearing this much. That still has this much pigment after this much time. And that is everything. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.